questions, thoughts? We flew through stuff so fast. Any thoughts or questions you have?
Yes. When do I get this tape?
They'll have it rendered here probably within a couple days.
Good. Thank you.
Janae, you and I had the privilege to connect. Can you recreate that moment, that feeling, those thoughts on what you experienced within the first even few minutes of connecting?
Yes. I've actually been working on it. So I will send over something, a rough draft of what I kind of was working on over to you, but I'm not finished with it yet.
So try to communicate right now, try to communicate what Paul was sharing with you.
Well, basically, in the first few moments, and someone else mentioned it earlier today, we never really had any type of interaction and connection. I went through the process of answering those few questions, shape, type, things I didn't like, etc., and you pretty much read me tooth and nail, and I it was kind of taken back because I'm kind of shielded, but you were able to kind of read me in the sense that it opened that trust level because I'm like, this guy really knows me, and I was able to take back some things about myself that maybe I knew or maybe I didn't know, but it kind of was that light bulb moment to where these are the things that are great about me, but these are also my weaknesses. How am I able to utilize that or know this new knowledge about myself to help myself navigate better through life in the relationships with other people that come in contact with me? So,
nice. Paul, questions, thoughts, insights you have?
Yeah, hard to believe. Another goosebump moment. So you were talking about the interview process, and I am of this personal school of hiring personality, not skill set. So if I can identify, even at hello, and I'm interviewing, is there different questions, so I know somebody is going to be amiable or expressive. Is there a path that you can take them down because you've uncovered that personality, which is such a huge piece, so quickly now?
Absolutely. We'll learn that in lesson 3 and 4 by applying the 530 grid and the DNA for life. There's a question that I was looking for coachability. I was trying to figure out how to determine if someone's coachable. So all 4 personalities can be coachable, all 4 cannot. Those that are not, depending on their personality, they will be not coachable for very different reasons or coachable for very different reasons. It took 18 and a half years to come up with that one question that determines coachability. By and large, if you want to make money, if you want an employee to be productive, you don't want to hire people who are not coachable. On the other hand, if you want to build a better system, hire somebody who's not coachable. So we brought on a client that was coached. Normally, in my company, people call us executive, our business coaches, which is fine, but we're really architects or engineers. We engineer the boss systems, and so that's what we do. So normally we have a rule. We won't bring on a client that's anything less than a 6 in coachability, 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being not coachable at all. And so we won't bring on a client unless they're a 6 or better. But we brought on a client 4 years ago that was a 2 to test our system, to see how strong our system was. So there's a lot more 2s and 3s out there than there are 8s and 9s. And if you have a system, if you have an employee, a team member, a spouse, children, if you have any of those, that's a 9, you only need a system of a 1 to see success. 1 plus 9 is 10. If you have a employee who's a 7 on coachability, openness, like they're hungry, they're curious, they want to learn. You only need a system that's a 3. But if you have an employee that's a 1 or 2, you need a system that's an 8 or 9. And so I always like to have 1 or 2 problem clients because it gives me it forces me, because I care a lot about them, it forces me to build a better system. So the personality is not so much the important part. It's not even their role. You can have a CPA who is a great CPA who's an expressive personality, but you don't want them doing bookkeeping, and you want to make sure that you're careful to have somebody. They will look at accounting very different than most CPAs will. Tom, you've shared over the years a lot on recruiting and personalities. Any insights or thoughts for Paul?
Yeah, the reason I asked when I could get this tape is that it just so happens we're kind of re-looking at and redoing a lot of the recruiting processes for Engel and Volkers, the franchise I work for. And the stuff I just saw this morning, although I'd been through this process, just reopened my eyes to how powerful this thing could be in terms of teaching our license partners the proper way to interview somebody, or to when you get them on the phone. We also run a call center, and so that I can see some of this application in terms of even how they say hello when the call center first calls them. So the tremendous amount of application for hiring people, especially salespeople, I think. But it would equate to about any person you wanted to hire. But definitely, in our case, salespeople are managers.
See, and this is why it's so important to make sure that we understand. You'll notice, and so we tend to like people who are like us, and then we tend to fall in love with people who are opposite of us. So you'll notice subtly where we want them to like us in recruiting. So you actually tell them what they want to hear. You actually seduce them into being drawn into you. Then in the onboarding, you continue the seduction process, but you start to move them into falling in love with you, and the retention...
Mark, can I ask a question?
Yep.
So let's go. If we go back to the recruiting box there, and I assume it would apply across. So if I were looking at this and I said like a family, consider it, and so on, build questions that would relate to those areas. Is that correct?
Well, yes, but it's not so much, because you know what their personality is. And so what you're doing is, when you get their personality, you're adjusting not the questions, but you're adjusting your presentation. Like a listing presentation, you're focused in on, all of the things. So any company, every company is going to have parts of the company that are analytic, parts of the company driver, parts of the company expressive, parts of the company amiable. And so what you do is you're emphasizing the things that they want to hear about the company. And this is the problem that most sales managers have, is they're emphasizing what's important to them, not what's important to the applicant.
No, I understand. So, but that's if I'm I was looking at it from the standpoint I'm recruiting somebody, a salesperson, to come into the company. So once I know that they fall into this area, I would focus on questions that would relate around those things.
Well, it could be relating around those things. It's more, this is our philosophy. This is our philosophy as a company, is this. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gracious, this company was made for me. Like, wow. Like, because they don't recognize that, hey, you know all of this stuff. The onboarding, you migrate them. Once they say yes, you migrate them. You continue to consider them. But in the retention, what you're doing is getting them to fall in love with you, which is challenging them to think differently, to challenging them. So the amiable, for example, the amiable is a really arrogant personality, but nobody knows it because they're so nice and they won't tell you it. So my 20-year-old son, my 6 out of 7, Ben, super big time amiable. And he came up to me when he was 5, and he says, Dad, I've been thinking about you, and I think you're really arrogant, which is really cool. I'm like, that is so awesome, Ben. Like, thanks for sharing that. Like, why would you say that? He claims now that he just learned the word and he didn't really understand what he was saying. But the amiable thinks there's one way to manage, motivate, and inspire people, and it's the way they do it. So what they'll do is they'll judge the driver especially, the expressive to some degree, the analytic to some degree, and they'll often undermine other people in leadership. So in the retention, what you're doing is you're helping to awaken them. You're challenging them with things that they've never been challenged. So it's very much like, Tom, in a relationship. On the first date, you might not want to challenge somebody. But as you get deeper into the relationship, I've been married for 35 years, and my wife still challenges me a lot. And that's one of the reasons I love her so much. Does that help, Tom, or not so much?
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of offline conversations.
So this is the thing I think that is interesting to me about people is they want to have that, oh, Tom, can you tell people about the silver bullet principle? Like, people are always looking, like they want to go through this one course, the 7-week course, and they want the magic silver bullet. Can you explain to people what the magic silver bullet is?
Have I done this before?
You have.
I mean, I know that there are a lot of people, when they take courses, they figure that there's just one thing that they can walk away with. And I think when they go into a course thinking about where's the silver bullet, they miss the holster and the gun and all of the other parts that go with the silver bullet. And I don't know if that's what I talked about before.
Actually, I like that. That's the first time I've ever heard that. That's really good. What I was referencing when agents would come up to you and say, Tom, what's the silver bullet? And you'd explain the science behind putting a silver bullet together.
Yeah.
Like,
that was another one. But I think a lot of, thinking back on it, a lot of people who tend to go into courses looking like that, they push away all the most important stuff because they're searching for that one nugget, and the one nugget really is a combination of the whole process. And they have a hard time understanding that.
And that's where I think that's where the follow-through, that's why, when I volunteer to do all these things for Life Masteries Institute, what I'm most impressed about, and I've been blessed, as I shared, I think in Lesson 1, to be an international speaker, author of 16 books, over, 80, it's probably over 100 white papers now, traveled all around the world. The thing that I hate about seminars and workshops is that there's one solution for fits all, like they're selling something at the back of the room. Life Masteries is different than that. They've built an entire follow-up system to make sure that anybody that goes through the course actually follows through on the course. So going through the course, you're going to have all these goosebump moments like Paul, and he's going to help you have even more than what you normally would have. But he's going to help you with all of that. But if you don't stick with it, if you don't follow through, and Life Masteries and Legacy Partners are nonprofit organizations, they're phenomenal. If it was a for-profit, the course would be 10 times what it is. The follow-up would be 10 times what it is. So they have follow-up built right into it to help individuals, to walk individuals through, and it could be one-on-one follow-up, it could be group follow-up, it could be mastermind follow-up, it could be live in person. That's why you want to, when you're going through this, like Paul, he's going to get certified in this. Janae is going to get certified in this. They're going to speak all over the world, change people's lives in the most amazing way. They're actually starting to work on the psychology of people for mortgage professionals. There's going to be psychology of people for real estate professionals, for CPAs, and all types of different individuals. Jill, questions, thoughts you have? Rosanna, thoughts, questions you have?
I think it's a really cool program because I think without that program it would be very hard for some couples to continue to stay married.
That went in a whole different direction.
So Rosanna is writing a book and then putting together an entire system for business sense from everyday moms. I tried to get my mom to do that. Tom said when he heard 3 generations of Boersma women talk about talking on the phone, he said it was like one of the most significant conversations. My mom, she passed away 3 years ago, and I have 5 siblings, all 6 of us own our own companies. Like my mom knew how to build entrepreneurs. Rosanna is my wife of 35 years. 4 of our 7 children own their own companies. 3 of them, I think at some point will discover that whether they're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, I'm fine with anything. One of them should be an employee, needs to be an employee, needs the structure, the discipline. Just happens to be the youngest, maybe. The youngest 2, they need to be employees. They need structure around them, but they're going to be very successful at everything they do because of what my amazing wife taught them in homeschooling the 3 oldest all the way from K to 12. She did all of that. The middle ones, half middle, half others. The younger ones, public school the whole time. But business sense from everyday moms and the psychology of people for women, Rosanna is leading up all of those efforts and just doing a spectacular job. And the first couple years of our marriage, really, really tough. So I'm a driver, analytic. She's an amiable, expressive, with analytic at times too. So she's more complex than I am. I'm a little more simple, straightforward. But the first 2 years of our marriage, really, really tough because we were applying the golden rule, not the platinum rule. The golden rule is treating other people the way you want to be treated. She doesn't like to be treated the way I like to be treated. So I was treating her the way I like to be treated. She did not like that. She was treating me the way she likes to be treated. I don't like to do that either. And so I do think we were introduced to this 2 years into our marriage, and it transformed our marriage. I don't think it's too much of a stretch that I'm not sure if we'd be married, without an understanding of this. All of our kids, I think anybody who gets married should go through this. I mean, it's just...
What's the platinum rule?
The platinum rule is treat other people the way they want to be treated.
Excellent.
The quantum rule, which I just made this up right now, because there's a higher rule, and that's treating other people the way they need to be treated to achieve their full potential. And so there are some times when you see my wife and I interact, if you ever get a chance to see us both speaking together or at an event together, let me tell you, that is an amazing, you'll walk away and say, I cannot believe she's still married to that guy, because I am tougher on her like tough as nails on her. And people are like, you can't treat your wife that way. Like, I've been married to her. That's the reason she loves me so much, is because I want her to achieve her full God-given potential more than anyone on the planet. And sometimes that is sharing things with her that she does not like to hear.
So, Mark, give me the last one again, the titanium or whatever you called it.
Yeah, the quantum rule is, the platinum rule is treating people the way they want to be treated. The quantum rule is treating other people the way they need to be treated to be able to achieve their full, I believe, God-given potential. Like, what were they put on this planet to do? And so helping them often by putting the relationship at risk. And that's what most people aren't willing to do, is they're not willing to go ahead and put the relationship at risk. And in business, it's hard, to be honest. This gentleman who's seventh generation Texan, he says, you know, Mark, I learned at a young age I was going to be really frustrated. He said, you know, I thought when I was a boy that, you know, people would want to know the truth, so I just spoke the truth. My dad says, yeah, no, that's not going to, people don't want to know the truth. So in business, the challenge that's so hard in business or in any group is that people don't want, like, there's so much fear. Like, if I'm honest with my boss, you know, he's going to or she's going to fire me, or they're not going to give me a promotion. If I'm honest with my employees, they're going to quit, or they're going to undermine me. Like, there's not honesty. And we, years ago, Tom, you know, where we were talking to somebody from, I think, Southern California, and he said, if the truth hurts, it was meant to. And so when we understand the personalities, the amiable understands, my wife understands, the reason Mark, he's not stupid. He knows I'm not going to be happy. He knows that I might be crying. He knows I might be angry. I might even attack. I might even, I am not going to be happy. But he loves me so much, he's willing to tell me the truth, even if it harms our relationship, because he loves me so much. The expressive personality, you know, just gets their energy drained totally from the analytic, because the analytic is always like they think, like every idea, the expressive, they need to break it down. And so there's a science that we'll learn in future lessons about this. When you have the amiable or the expressive, you start out with the expressive, all kinds of, like, brainstorming. The driver then has to jump in and take the 1,000 of ideas from the expressive and come up with the best 2 or 3 ideas. Then you take the best 2 or 3 ideas, give it to the analytic, because then they'll match it out. If you don't have a driver in between the expressive and the analytic will burn out the expressive, and the expressive will burn out the driver. And then the amiable is the execution. Now, we all have to learn, and we all have some elements of these. I spent 2 years as an amiable and 3 years as an expressive. The expressive is the least energy, natural energy that I have, but I spent 3 years in that personality, learning how, as best as I could, learning how to think like an expressive thinks. Other questions, Tom, or thoughts?
Well, I've got so many things rolling around in there right now. It's unbelievable. Well,
that's where the lifegps.org, like, they're right now, Life Masteries is working on raising $250,000. But they're also going for a $1 million grant from the Air Force for Personality Mastery's mobile app and being able to help heal, not just help, but heal PTSD. The mobile app, I believe
interesting. You just
good.
That was whirling around in my head. It's, how could we use this? And it was really kind of based on the visit we had out to
Camp Pendleton.
Marine base. Yeah, the Marine base here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, like, my 24-year-old daughter, she's given me permission when she was 15, and we did that interview, Tom, on NBC, and I shared on how she tried to commit suicide when she was 15, and the cameraman came up, one of the hosts came up afterward and said, that was so moving that you shared that about your daughter. And I don't know if she would be with us today if it wasn't for personalities. Like, we knew there's danger. We tried to get help, and then we helped her to heal, and she's done an unbelievable, she's a single mom now. She does an unbelievable job, and she's working on using the mobile app to help to prevent teen and adult suicide. All four of the personalities are going to can be addictive personalities, but for very different reasons. So it can heal addictions. It can heal marriages. It can help parents connect with their kids. And so a company that embraces this as part of their culture, it's not just to impact the bottom line. It will impact the bottom line like crazy, but it's because we as owners really care about our employees. We really do. But there's not a lot of that in the press or in the media or government. It seems like big education, big business, big government, big media, big even religion. It's like there's nobody out there being an advocate for business owners. And so when business owners can utilize this tool, this system, this process, to be able to help their employees with their marriages, with the kids, with the health, emotional, mental health, all of those type of things, it's like it's a no-brainer. What a wonderful gift to be able to give to people. It's literally, I believe, Tom, in my experiences, it's a gift of life.
I can see that. What's the cost of personality masteries?
Well, there's different lessons. There's a whole bunch of different types of those, and so if you're calling in, you have any questions, you can connect with your art mentor about it. You can connect with the individual who invited you to participate, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300. Or if you're calling in outside the U.S., you can call the U.S.-based number at 630-393-9909. That's 630-393-9909. And again, let me get to that slide and pull that thing up here, going through this here. It's important to do the follow-through. I can't emphasize that enough. You'll get infinitely more from the course when you do the follow-through, and it's learning to earn. So learn to earn, learn2earn.dna4success.com, and go to that, and there's a whole bunch of different options that you can check into. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless, and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.